movie on flying.
All in favor of shipping butt out, raise hands. Here he comes. We were talking about you, bud. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the co-chairman. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trail through which we pass will light us in honor to the latest generation. And now, like past reunions, I'd like to recognize the survivors of the Standing Bee who have come from all over our great country, some with their families, to be here for this reunion and the great commissioning of the USS Carr tomorrow. Shipmates, as I call your names, please stand and remain standing. And ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please hold your applause until I call out the whole roll. I would like to start with our senior surviving officer, the executive officer of the 413, Captain E.E. Bob Roberts, U.S. Navy retired, from Morristown, New Jersey. Hold your applause, please. The next three, stand up and remain standing. Thank you, sir. The next three survivors are with us for the first time in 41 years. And they are Ray Chambliss, Davis, Oklahoma. Please stand. Harvey Hinken from Wyoming, Michigan. Bill Wilson, Kalamazoo, Michigan. The rest of the survivors are Sam Blue, Perry, Florida. George Bray, Montgomery, Alabama. Bill Burton, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Bud Comet, our co-chairman from Everett, Washington. Whit Felt, our secretary-treasurer from Salt Lake City, Utah. Vincent Goodrich, Bradford, Pennsylvania. Louis Gould, Petersburg, Virginia. John Chalkley, Montgomery, Alabama. James Griggs, Exeter, California. Lord Burnett, San Jose, California. Mel Arden, Baltimore, Maryland. Adolph Herrera, Superior, Arizona. Royce Masters, East Palatka, Florida. John Dudley Moreland, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Dick Nichols, Endicott, New York. John G. Roberts, the brother of Samuel B. Roberts, East Palatka, Florida. Tom Stevenson from Manhasset, Long Island, New York. How about that? I'm from New York. Earl Pop Stewart from Lewistown, Pennsylvania. Bill Branham, Jacksonville, Florida. Sal Interenti, Orlando, Florida. Ed Wheaton, Norwalk, Ohio. The next gentleman I'm going to introduce is not a survivor. Well, he was transferred from the ship for advanced radar school just prior to October 25th, 1944, and after school was to report back to our ship. And he's here today, and we're very proud to have Edwin Todd from Kittanning, Pennsylvania, and myself, Jack Houston from Mercer Island, Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, the survivors of the Standing Bee. Thank you very much. Very kind. I'd like to bring shipmate Whitfield from Salt Lake for opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow survivors, Carr sisters, and Carr family, honored guests. 41 years ago tomorrow, when the Carr is being commissioned, the USS Samuel B. Roberts, DD 413, was traversing the Panama Canal. Barely 3 months old, the Roberts had sailed from Houston, where she was built, to Bermuda for her shakedown cruise, to Boston for a complete refitting, and then to the Panama Canal, where she was proceeding from the Atlantic to the Pacific. For most of the 225 men aboard the Roberts, the trip through the canal was a very memorable event. These men had come from small towns and big cities. Some were fresh out of high school, others were college graduates. They had come aboard as inexperienced men, but there were a few men that had survived Pearl Harbor, and they were there to show us the ropes. In America, these men were as well trained as could possibly be expected. The Roberts was not a large ship by any stretch of the imagination, and so she shared the locks with other ships. Slightly longer than a football field, the destroyer escort had been built primarily to protect troop and cargo convoys from submarine attacks. They were equipped with the latest sonar and radar equipment and were armed with hedgehogs, K-guns, and depth charges to fight an underwater foe. And should a submarine surface, DEs had 2 5-inch guns and 3 torpedoes to fight them off. 20 and 40 millimeter guns bristle from the bow to the stern so they could fight off an enemy aircraft attack. 3 months later, the Roberts and other destroyers and destroyer escorts, part of Taffy 3, were screening 6 Jeep aircraft carriers off the coast of Samar. MacArthur had returned to the Philippines 5 days before, and each day the carriers launched their aircraft, which would proceed to soften up the enemy ashore. Aside from making a midnight run on an underwater object, the Roberts had not fired a round of ammunition at the enemy. On the morning of October 25th, 1944, a huge armada of Japanese ships appeared suddenly and unexpectedly on the northern horizon. It was their plan to enter Lady Gulf, interrupting MacArthur's invasion efforts and hopefully turning the tide of battle once again in their direction. We will always wonder what went through the mind of Admiral Kurita as he watched from the bridge of the huge Japanese battleship Congo and saw before him a small fleet of ships that appeared from nowhere. He probably expected the American ships to turn and flee from his vastly superior force, making them easy targets for his battleships, cruisers, and destroyers to pick off. But they didn't. They lay down an effective smoke screen that hid the carriers from the view of the enemy, and before the Admiral knew it, his fire was being returned by ships that had taken the offensive and were launching the attack. One of these ships was the tiny destroyer escort USS Samuel B. Roberts, who not only launched 3 torpedoes, but kept firing round after round of 5-inch shells at a cruiser, and had gotten so close to the enemy that the cruiser could not lower her guns low enough to fire back at the Roberts. But there were enough ships in the Japanese fleet to protect one another, and before long a battleship opened fire on the destroyer escort, and the Roberts was soon a shuddering mass of bent and torn steel. There were many heroes that morning who served their nation well. Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, the ship's commander, kept the Roberts nipping at the enemy's heels by using superb seamanship. Paul Henry Carr, gun captain of the after 5-inch gun, who, though mortally wounded, kept trying to load and fire his almost totally destroyed weapon at the enemy. Before the long, Captain Copeland, realizing the Roberts was without power and taking in water, gave the command to abandon ship. With the men safely off her, the Roberts went down stern first, her proud bow protruding to the heavens, as if in a final salute to the brave men who served aboard her. The survivors floated in the ocean for more than 50 hours, not knowing the outcome of the engagement that has since become known as the Battle of Lady Gulf, nor realizing the heroic part their little ship played in turning back the vastly superior Japanese fleet. The Navy did. They honored the DD 413 by building and commissioning a destroyer, the DD 823, as the Samuel B. Roberts, The second Roberts served her nation for many years before being decommissioned. Further honors were to come to the crew of the Roberts. Largely through the efforts of Lloyd Burnett and Bill Burton, the Navy honored the commanding officer of the Roberts by building and commissioning a guided missile frigate in his name, USS Copeland FFG-25. Similar honors are being accorded an enlisted man tomorrow when the USS Carr FFG-52 is commissioned to honor the Oklahoma farmlad Paul Henry Carr, who died in the service of his country. The story does not end there. On the rugged coast of Maine, another FFG is being built, and it will be commissioned to USS Samuel B. Roberts, FFG-58, the third ship to bear this proud name. Little did the men on the Roberts realize 41 years ago, as their little ship moved from one lock to the next in the Panama Canal, that their efforts 3 months later aboard the destroyer escort that fought like a battleship would become a proud page of American history in the last major sea battle of the Second World War, a battle that reduced the effectiveness of the Japanese Navy to ever launch another attack, and according to historians, helped shorten the war and its final outcome. You've met many of the survivors that are with us tonight from that brave little ship, and we'll share with you tomorrow the commissioning of the Carr. These are young men grown older, grayer, heavier, perhaps wiser, but never braver than they were on that morning of October 25th, 1944. Thank you.
One of our speakers this evening is Rear Admiral Stan Severance, Jr. I asked Admiral Severance to talk to us to increase our awareness of the role that the Navy plays in defense of our country and the impact it has on our Pacific Northwest and its economy. Major naval activities under his command include the Naval Station at Sandpoint, the Naval Air Stations at Whidbey Island, and Quebec.
Although the ship was heavily damaged and finally lost power, communications, compressed air, electrical energy, and knowing those hazards existed, Carr's close-knit crew continued to manually load, ram home, and fire 5-inch rounds, even though the safety circuits which prevented injury had been placed out of commission by loss of power. In attempting to fire one round, after they had opened the breech and were reloading, the gun barrel was so hot that before they got the breech door shut, the shell cooked off, as we call it in naval parlance. In other words, exploded while the breech door was open, destroying the gun and killing almost all but 2 of the crew there in the gun mount. Following the skipper's order to abandon the ship, petty officer was checking topside to find out who was left when he went into the after gun mount where Paul Carr was. They were mortally wounded, split open primarily from his neck to his thigh, mortally wounded, holding a 54-inch shell, and begged the petty officer to help him load the shell into this disabled gun. Petty officer realized the gun could not be fired, took the round, set it down, and assisted another injured crewman from that mount onto the deck. Then went back to get Paul Carr. When he returned, he found Carr again, attempting, although horribly wounded, to place the projectile onto the loading tray of the inoperative gun. Paul Carr perished a few minutes after he was removed from that gun mount. Captain Horn, you and the crew will place the Carr in commission tomorrow. Indeed, have a spirit and an example to follow if you take that ship to sea and possibly have to sail in harm's way. The fast frigate class ship, of which the Carr, the Copeland, and the Samuel B. Roberts FFG-58 will all be a class of, are equipped with our newest, our latest, and most sophisticated weapons and combat systems that we have been able to devise to date. If you just briefly compare the three ships, the new ships, with the old Samuel B. Roberts, you see quickly some of the differences. The new FFGs are 1.5 times longer than Samuel B. Roberts was. They displaced twice what the original Roberts did. Most of the guns are now replaced with missile
We have with us tonight the 8 sisters of Paul Carr. I'd like to call on the first one, Lucille Steeper of Corpus Christi, Texas, who was the matron of honor at the Carr launching. And I ask Lucille to join Goldie at the podium. Now the rest of the Oklahoma gals. Ruth Cox, Muskogee, Oklahoma, please come forward. Peggy Todd, Davis, Oklahoma. Katie Peterson, Chicago, Oklahoma. Juanita Rush, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Irene Schultz, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Edith Wilson, Muskogee, Oklahoma. And last but not least, Trustee Woodard, Locust Grove, Oklahoma. Switch now. I'm going to let Bud give the flowers, but this time I'm going to give them. There he goes. That's what he did on the ship. Stole everybody's girl. What am I doing? Thank you, buddy. I call Goldie to the microphone.
Thank you, Jack. Samuel B. Roberts Survivors Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The large attendance of this commemorative event is extremely impressive. Paul Carr will be proud of his outstanding display of sincerity. Tomorrow, with the commissioning of the Carr, climaxes 3 years of anticipation. The anticipation of the completion of and acceptance into the United States Navy, a modern fleet carrying the name of Carr. Being an extension of the Samuel B. Roberts, the E-413, which which was the most celebrated destroyer escort in naval history, the Carr has a reputation to uphold, as does the sister ships, the Copeland, FSG 25, and the Samuel B. Roberts 3, FSG 58. There is no doubt that the Carr is manned with the same caliber men who sail on the same stormy seas. This is not a day of mourning, because Paul Carr would not want it that way. This is a day of reverence, not only for Paul Carr, but for all the men who were aboard the DD-413. Each of those men laid his life on the line in defense of his country and his loved ones. They all deserve the ultimate in recognition. Paul Carr, these sisters, and I are most pleased that through the efforts of Lieutenants Floyd Burnett, William Burton, Tom Stevenson, and Dudley Moylan, as well as his shipmates Adolph Herrera, Bud Thomas, and the late Rudolph Scow, the Navy has chosen to add the Carr name to its fleet. Not only are we elated for the extreme honor being bestowed Paul Carr, we also cherish the opportunity of having met the DD-413 survivors with whom he sailed. Bless all of you for your dire, unselfish performance during a time of extreme strife. Thank you.
Texas.
Jack almost said I have this. I don't know what else we could ask what Goldie said to anybody else. Except nobody knows what this meant to us, to be all the guys also said in the office. Between them and seeing the Carr Commission tomorrow, there's no words to describe how we feel. We feel like the members of our family anymore. And we thank you very much, all of you, for being here and participating. We know the same will be honest survivors. They're great people. Thank you.
What a bunch of gals.
Woo!
And we were very excited when we got a call from my detailer, and he told me that I was going to take command of the USS Carr. Well, we left Honduras in June of last year, and packed our little car with about 19 suitcases and drove up the west coast of Mexico and the east coast of the United States, and started the command training pipeline in Newport, Rhode Island. Well, that pipeline lasted the better part of a year. We did 30,000 miles on the car, all four corners of the country, and our excitement kept growing as the time got near to get here to Seattle and finally see the ship. Well, we got here in February to 4 days of snowstorm, but it didn't do anything to dampen our spirits. Seeing the ship for the first time was great. We traveled around just a little bit more down to San Diego, then came back up here, and the crew started assembling, and tomorrow you'll see the results of a fine job on the part of Mr. Gilbride and his people at Todd Shipyard, and on the part of the U.S. Navy in putting together a very fine crew to man the ship. Tomorrow will be, for me, a great day, a very exciting day, but I think maybe the best part of it is the knowledge that we will always be a part of the Samuel B. Roberts Survivors Association, and becoming a part of that family is going to mean a very great deal to us. Those are all the comments that I have. we will form the first crew of the Carr. And in naval tradition, those crew members are known as plank owners. And for you members of the Sammy B Association that will be there at the commissioning tomorrow, we want you to know that you will always be a plank owner of the USS Carr. And to commemorate that, we prepared some honorary plank owner certificates for each one of you that will be in attendance tomorrow. I'll give Jack the entire pack and ask if you'll just pass them out to you during the next couple of days. Thank you very much.
We're not through with you, sir. You just stand by. A special presentation to Captain Horn will be made by our gunnery officer, Bill Burton of Cleveland Heights, Ohio, assisted by two shipmates, George Bray of Montgomery, Alabama, and Sam Blue of Perry, Florida. Would you come up, gentlemen?
Commander Horn, and all plank owners of the USS Carr, whether you're present here or not, and particularly fellow survivors of the original Samuel B. Roberts, the three of us now here standing have a message for you and an invocation we wish to impart from our hearts. I'm the former gunnery officer of the Sam B, and I have long been and will continuously be significantly grateful to have had the chance to number among my gun captains our own Paul Henry Carr. Paul Carr was a great asset for the Sammy B right from the start. His leadership, his thoroughness, his devotion to his gun crew and to his gun and mount were recognized and appreciated by all of us who knew him. On my right side is Sam Blue, formerly a fuel setter, the only surviving member of the Carr's 10-man crew in the after 5-inch 38 gun mount. Sam was blown clear of the ship and clear of the mount and into the sea when the last powder charge hooked off. On my left is George Bray, a member of the lower handling room gang who kept the shells and powder coming up to service the spectacular rate of rapid fire that Carr's crew was able to keep up throughout the battle. Now, one of the heritages that Paul Carr has given to us as Sammy B survivors is a feeling of pride in having been able, by doing our own parts in our own battle stations, to help Paul Carr to earn for our ship the nickname of the destroyer escort that fought like a battleship. Yes, it was the rapid, accurate, and continuous fire of our after 5-inch 38 that distinguished our ship from the other DEs. That gun fired the most rounds and scored the most hits of any DE in the battle. Why? Because there was behind the gun crew Paul Carr, a determined leader who knew how to inspire his crew by his own example rather than by command. With the presentation of this portrait, I'm going to ask him to go bring this up to us. Will you bring it up to us? Don't. I'm asking. Bring it up to us. with the mission base
All
and
the
the
cars
portrait,
could shoot squirrels between the eyes.
all the Sandy survivors and the artist Sam Lissette want to pass along to the USS Carr and to all those who will serve aboard her our pride in our shipmate Paul Carr, and our hopes the new ship will recognize the ultimate and ultimately emulate the devotion, the determination, and the dedication Paul Carr gave to his gun crew, to his ship, and to the nation. We further hope that Carr's now well-known heroic efforts to get off that last round, with no thought at all of his crippling wound, will serve this new ship as remembrances of that event have served all of the Sandy survivors as an inspiration to bring out the very best that is in all of us in times of stress. On Commander Horn, we willingly present this to you for the officers and crew of the Carr, this memorial to Paul Carr and his heroism, which is in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. We, Sandy B survivors, are proud that the Navy has seen fit in naming the FFG-52 to honor our departed shipmate, Paul Henry Carr, thereby keeping vibrant and alive the record of his exemplary conduct in the Battle of Lady Gulf. So now you can do it. And
George Gray.
Cannot determine exactly what's the position the ship is in. This is Banquet our ship. This is during the Paul Carr field. This is area right here where we had to take care of. I ain't got out one.
Thank you, guys. I call on shipmate Dudley Moylan from Minneapolis, Minnesota to make a special presentation.
Appreciate very much being chosen to make a presentation to the enlisted crew of the Carr from the Samuel B. Roberts Association. And I would like Senior Chief James Conway, Gunner's Mate 3rd Kevin Lee, and Gas Turbine Electrical 3rd John Jensen of the Carr to come forward to receive it. I would like them to come forward too. On the Roberts, I was daily able to see the picture of the handsome sailor and hero Sam Roberts and be inspired. And it really did not occur to me to think whether he was an officer or enlisted. I knew Paul Carr, a tremendous person and hero, and as I told one of his sisters in Long Beach, that he was such a remarkably decent, capable, and honorable man was more important to me than his final heroism. And I didn't and don't think of him as officer or enlisted either. But One thing is clear to me, and that is for many of our Roberts survivors, that Paul Carr was enlisted and has a ship named after him is very important. The honor is not just to Paul, but to an enlisted man. That makes the FFG 52 especially important to them, and I guess that is right and proper. In recent literature on the best management of corporations and businesses, you'll find the idea somewhat heretical that the officers, employers, and managers' job should be primarily to help the employees do their jobs, where they are the important ones. It's probably even more heretical to say that about the Navy, but I suspect that a well-run ship, in any well-run ship, much the same applies. It's the men who keep the Navy afloat and successful in action and who deserve the honor. So we are proud to present a print of a picture by Sam Lissette of the Samuel B. Roberts in action on October 25th, 1944, to the men of the Carr. Thank you very much.
How about those sailors? Commander Paul Ring, come on up. This group. These are the guys that are leading our ships. Now, I want to tell you something. There's a saying in the Navy, and Chief Conway will back me up, that the chief petty officers are the backbone of our Navy. It was said, right? And Roy, okay, Chief. That's true, it really is. It was true way back then, and it's true now. But there's another little group in the Navy who are really the backbone. Karen, come on. Come on up here, Mr. Harper. These are the gals that stay at home and wait. Carrie Horn. How about Linda Gunn? And from Charleston, South Carolina, Pam Wren. These are the gals that are really the backbone of it. Right, fellas? I want to honor from the floor, if I may, the executive officer of the Carr, Lieutenant Commander John Myers, and his wife Petra. Would you please stand? And the XO of the Copeland, Lieutenant Commander John McCluskey, and his wife Norma. And while they're up on display, I would be really remiss if I didn't recognize our captain's widow, our First Lady, Harriet Kirkland of Tacoma, Washington. I got you that time. I beat blood that time. And how about if you'd like to meet Harriet's daughter, Susie Hartley from Longview, Washington. And their son, Susie's son, Bob Copeland Jr., and his wife Nancy from Gig Harbor, Washington. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. It's fun. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, it's with a great pleasure that I introduce Mr. John Gilbride, the General Manager of Todd Shipyards, Seattle Division. Mr. Gilbride represents those many hundreds of skilled and dedicated employees whose efforts went into building the USS Carr.
And we were on the pictures. We're very good. Thank you.
I'd like to honor from the floor Mr. Dan McDonald, the Assistant General Manager of Production of Todd. Dan, take it. And Mr. Steve Sanford, the Manager of Industrial and Public Relations. Steve. I'm going to meet the real boss of Todd Pacific Shipyards, Seattle Division. No arguments, right, John? Audrey McMullen is a special assistant to the General Manager, but she's also our assistant. Since meeting Audrey, I can tell you she's been a champion of our cause and a great help. Audrey, will you come up a minute, please?
I want to get her wet now.
For all the help that you've given the Samuel P. Survivors Association and the love and warmth of your personality to us, this is for you. Put up with it. We're moving down the around third base now. We're heading for home. But are you having fun?
Yeah.
Last October 25th, 1984, the 40th anniversary of the Battle of Lady Gulf was celebrated in Charleston, South Carolina, aboard the carrier Yorktown. The USS Samuel B. Roberts, the DE-413, and 12 other ships of Taffy's Breed were presented with the Republic of the Philippines Award of the Presidential Unit Citation Badge. This is it. We are honored to have the newly appointed Consul General of the Republic of the Philippines with us tonight, Consul General Jose Sayugo, Jr. He is no stranger to the United States, as he is a graduate of the Military Academy at West Point. He received additional advanced degrees from Oxford University and George Washington University. Consul General Sayugo began his diplomatic career in 1973 and has risen through a number of posts to his present position. It is my pleasure to introduce Consul General Jose Sayugo, Jr.
Distinguished guests, members of the family of the late Paul Carr, ladies and gentlemen, my wife, Teresa, and I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Samuel Roberts Survivors Association, all of whom are heroes in their own right, for inviting us tonight to this very special occasion. And since most of you are from out of town And since we feel that we are already part of Seattle in our short time here, welcome to Seattle. Tonight, we honor and pay homage to fallen comrades in arms. As a former Army man myself, I am no stranger to the mixed sentiments that you feel today. We all have witnessed men die so that their country may triumph. Life is generously given so that the spirit of freedom, democracy, and friendship may reign supreme. In the case of the late Paul Carr, no recognition can be more fitting than the U.S. Navy's naming a ship after him. As to the survivors of the USS Roberts, the Philippine government can give few more fitting tributes than the Presidential Citation Award, which has just been awarded to them. The cooperation between Filipinos and Americans is historical, the friendship traditional. Allies in war, partners in peace. My president, President Ferdinand Marcos, who fought side by side with you in the same war, is himself a battle-scarred and much decorated war veteran and a true friend of America. He has asked me to extend his warmest personal greetings and congratulations to all you war comrades at this commemorative and memorable gathering tonight. In closing, let me renew the deepest gratitude of the Filipino people to all of you who helped us during the darkest days of the war. Filipinos will never forget that in our times of crisis, the American people did not fail us. For supporting the cause of Philippine independence and the right of the Filipinos to charter their own destiny, rest assured that the Filipino people hold Americans very dear to their hearts. Thank you very much for this honor.
I'd like to call on Tom Stevenson and E. Bob Roberts to assist me in a presentation. Would you please come up? Ladies and gentlemen, in 1978, a shipmate and survivor,
And I want to offer another round of applause for the officers men today. They got everything there, most admirable. As senior surviving officer, senior in the sense of rank, I was the executive officer at the time, and captain corporate in the sense of what they see. I've had 3 major assignments. One was to go back to the Bureau of Personnel with Bill Burton and write letters of condolences to his next of kin for those who were lost. And that's a very depressing task. Second one was to give a couple of speeches at reunions in which I try to convey my deep sense of perhaps awe may not be the right word, but the strength of this nation and its ability to draw almost at random on the West Coast, East Coast, North, South, industrial relations, industrial sections, armed sections, people who turned out to be such genuine heroes when confronted with a challenge such as we had. And it's a great attribute for the United States and a reflection of its strength. And the third task is this one which was assigned to me by one of the 2 people from whom I'm currently taking direction. The other one sitting over there in a blue dress. Was to honor our Lord. This assignment was given this morning, and so consequently I did not have a prepared speech, and you're probably better off with that, it'll be short. Also, Lloyd just stole all my time. But Without Lloyd, I don't think we'd be here. Without Lloyd, I don't think there was probability very high there would not have been a USS Coleman, a ship named USS Coleman. Without Lloyd, I don't think there would have been a ship named USS Carr. And without Lloyd, it's perhaps less probability, but likely there would not have been a third Samuel B. Roberts. So Lloyd accomplished this through a tremendous devotion of his own time and his own money, I might say. Those of us who have had occasion to interface with him during this whole long process have been impressed by his tremendous energy and dedication all the way through. And as I say, none of this would have happened without Lloyd. He was a spark plug. Other people have taken over and provided executive leadership and so forth. He was the entrepreneur who started it. And I'm sure I might also say that we wanted to recognize a real living hero. We have properly given homage to those heroes who have died. We have heroes who are living, and Lloyd is one of them. Lloyd was recommended for an award second only to the Navy Cross by Captain Copeland. And we, as survivors, wanted to recognize Lloyd's tremendous contribution, his tremendous dedicated patriotism, and his just general help all the way through. Tom, you want to add to that?
Difficult to say anything after the executive officer here. Lloyd Burnett came up through the hose pipe, so they say. Lloyd was what they called a Mustang in the Second World War. And he knew more than any of the officers knew. And he taught us all how to run the ship. And actually, this guy was the heart of the Samuel B. Roberts, really. And he has kept us together. He's made the organization. He was the mover and the shaker. And then Jack Houston and Bud Cummett came along, and they were the guys who made it run after that. And a lot of other people, too. But this is the guy who made the whole thing go, and we wouldn't have been here tonight. None of us would have been here without Lloyd Burnett getting this thing together. Whitfeld then came along and made it run, but this is the guy who started it, and he's one of the real heroes of the Second World War. And I want to tell you, I was with him in the water during the couple of days that we were in, and this is the guy who saved more people and kept the whole thing going, and this is a real hero, and we want to honor him with a little something that we all feel from the heart, which is a picture of the Samuel B. Roberts in action during the Second World War. Lloyd, thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Houston, our chairman, advised me
Months ago for this very moment that we're all enjoying. Without their efforts, we probably wouldn't be staying in this hotel at such very fine rates. We probably wouldn't be in this lovely room or have enjoyed this dinner. And for the Carrs, it's entirely possible that some of you would have come, but I don't think you would have had the family reunion that you've had for the past few days. On the table tonight, there's a special centerpiece. The little boy was created painstakingly and individually by Rudy Scow with a great deal of love. And the centerpiece was put together by Lil Comet. So I'd like 5 people to come forward if they would. Jack's already here. I'd like his wife Ruth to come up. Bud, would you come up? And Lil? And Pearl, would you please come up? people up here, Rudy is someplace in the room enjoying this tonight. There's nothing that he would have enjoyed more than being here with us. I have a plaque for each of these three men. This one is for Rudy. With grateful appreciation, Rudy Scow, for the dedication, love, and devotion you have given to the Samuel B. Roberts DE 413 Survivors Association, welding bonds of friendship, shared memories, and brotherhood. For us, the survivors, we thank you and love you. July 26, 1985. But we have a similar plaque for Jack Hewson and James Bud Collins. Thanks so very much to the five of you for making this such a tremendous event.
Come on up, shipmate. Bud and I are really shipmates. We were at battle stations together, and we were in the same raft together, and we're very close. We're coming to the end of this impossible dream. Ladies and gentlemen, my shipmate.
For a dream, freedom has been paid for dearly by brave and courageous men throughout history. On October the 25th, 1944, our little ship was engaged in a great naval battle. That now is also part of history. Yes, it is over with, and some will say forgotten. Others say forget and don't live in the past. A dream is described as a fanciful vision of the conscious mind. And when I look about this room and I see all my shipmates gathered here, I have some difficulty in believing what I see. There are my friends and guests of my friends, and friends and guests of my shipmates. There are dignitaries, my children, and their spouses. Commander Dunn, Captain USS Copeland, named in honor of my former skipper. Harriet Copeland, Susan, and Rob Copeland. Commander Wren, prospective commanding officer, USS Samuel B. Roberts, and Commander Horn, Captain USS Carr, named in honor of my shipmate. I look further and I see Goldie Carr Benchley and Paul's relatives from near and far. And behold, I see all 8 of Paul's sisters. Tomorrow morning, we with the crew of the Copeland will be afforded the privilege of witnessing the commissioning of the USS Carr and the symbolic reuniting of former shipmates. In the near future, the USS Samuel B. Roberts will join her sister ships in the fleet And wherever these three ships sail, whether it be together or oceans apart, they will, in our hearts and minds, always be united with the little DE 413 that fought like a battleship. Yes, this has been a fanciful vision that turned into an impossible dream.
As I believe that it is as true today as it was when it was written many years ago by Irving Berlin. And I'd like to ask that you join with me in singing the chorus as it comes around the second time, as a tribute to our country.
To a land that's free.
James?
Still trying to get some pictures here. The group of some of the cars here. Willard and Murray and Walter, Pauline and Cleo, Roxy and John, Eileen is sitting down, Donna Neal, Judy, Danny, Big Jeff. Sammy B in action. This is gold, all white. That's all right. A picture of the Sammy B.
I rode him on the side when the cable was all down there. I called some guys up about where that shot was, and I threw him over the side. And he had the teapot on. He wanted that, he had the teapot on. So the guy took him out to that, and I ended up on the same ramp, and we turned him loose, and took his stuff off, took his cable off, and turned him loose, and he just straightened him. Took his ring off it, and his watch. And he was limp.
I got to get this good-looking gentleman here on this tape here for Willie.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
You're back at the ranch.
Everybody's kissing flags.
Yeah. That's Doyle and that's his wife, Joe. Yeah, say something. What are you going to say? Huh?
Yeah, hi, Willard.
That's right, that's not Willard.
Well, no, Henry's just standing in for Willard, aren't you, Henry?
That's it, that's it. This is Willard you're talking to.
He sure wastes a lot of that tape. Tell us when you turn it on.
Boy, I'll never forget.
It's on, brother.
About with the rock.
Yeah, it's on.
You're the same guy that hit poor old Willard.
Yeah.
They know. I figured that family away, but they had some real fun. So, yeah. They sure did. We had some fun down there.
Yeah.
Right on. The art
Now back them up here and I can get them all.
I was going to tell you an Arkansas story. If a hen and a half laid an egg and a half in a day and a half, how long would it take a rooster to lay a doorknob?
Oh, about a house and a half.
Okay, Willard, you're doing real good.
Well, that's the TW.